order called adoption of agenda. Discussion? All in favor? Adoption of minutes? There is none. Introduction of late items will be 9.
Wait. What happened to, I guess Sandy, what happened to the minutes from the other meetings that we've had? The previous
They're not
ones?
done yet.
They're not done?
You've been doing these? You guys have had so many meetings, I can't catch up, so I need a few days to catch up.
Okay.
They will be coming.
Okay, well, I was just asking.
Yeah, no, they will be coming.
Okay, thank you.
Introduction of late items, 9.12, order and health. 9.13, meat, and we have delegation, Sandra Bedoff and Sherry Stewart. Unfinished business, and delegation is Sandra Bedoff and Sherry Stewart. Come on, girls.
Here on.
Right there. Do you want my podium?
Or you can stand wherever you like, just not right in front of the camera.
You want my podium?
No.
Show me my
You want to put
And you can remove your mask too, if you like.
Which one of you?
I'm not that formal.
You want to do this?
No, you can.
Age before 90.
All right. Well, I am Sandra Bedoff, and I'm the president of DC Charity Society, and I'm here to support Marin McKetty. And I don't think about this. I've known Lorraine for a very long time. She's been a part of DC Charity even before we were registered. She's helped volunteer. She has helped by money donations. We provide a lot of food hampers. We've raised money for rent. We've put on hot lunches throughout the years. In the 8 years, we've done amazingly. What my point here is today is that a lot of the people, families that we do help in Dawson Creek and Pooskoopi are Aboriginal. If she was racist, insensitive maybe, but if she was racist, like I wouldn't be able to have somebody on my board who was racist. I come for, equal to everybody. It's the matter of situation. It's not the color of their skin. I would not be able to have somebody on my board who was racist. Insensitive maybe. I've made insensitive remarks to my friends. Not to people in general, but to my friends, and we talk it out. Does that mean that I shouldn't run my charity? No, it doesn't. It means that I need to learn to become more sensitive. I feel that having asked her to resign is unfair. She apologized. She is willing to go through the work. She's willing to right her wrongs. And as knowing her for a long time, even before the charity, I know she will right her wrongs. I think it's unfair and unjust. Her as a person, this has affected her health, her personal life, all matters. Insensitive one, racist not. I was a part of the original Facebook post. That happened. And it was about the Hart Hotel, something that is not something that she can do as mayor. I feel that she was attacked and the person behind it was trying to blackmail her. So she posted the meme or the picture from years ago, however long ago it was, to out that person in that blackmail, not realizing the problems that it could cause. Lorraine treats everybody equal. I've watched her on the Poos Koopy groups, and if she doesn't agree with you, she doesn't agree with you. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. I've seen her argue with people. She's like that with everybody. I mean, we all know that. And it's not because those people were Aboriginal. I just really, I would hate to see her lose her mayor position. I feel that she's done a lot for Poos Koopy. She's done things for Dawson Creek. She works hard and she's dedicated and she's honest and she has integrity. I just feel this was very wrong that she was asked to resign. Insensitive, yes. Racist, no. What? Yeah, you can have it now.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Okay. I'm gonna read because I'm that nervous.
Is that nervous?
Okay, thanks for letting me speak tonight. I felt strongly about being here to show my support for my friend Lorraine because I see how much good she does for the village of Poos Koopy, and somehow it is all being overlooked. I am Métis, and my family and I are from Poos Koopy. Some of you may remember my grandpa Bottle as Chief Blacktop, who worked for the Department of Highways for years. I want to start off by saying I have known Lorraine since I was very young. I have recently started working alongside Lorraine the past few years, though, with the charity, as Sandra has mentioned. Now, I am speaking as a Métis. And for myself, I have never personally heard anything racist come out of Lorraine's mouth. Lorraine knows my family and where I have come from, and she has never said nothing derogatory. I have watched council meetings from the sidelines. I have watched social media from the sidelines. I do not feel I am represented properly by Richard Minault as a Métis, or an Aboriginal, or Treaty 8 does not represent me properly when it comes to Lorraine. I watched Lorraine apologize repeatedly. I watched Lorraine get defensive while under attack. I watched Richard Minault manipulate this into something bigger than what it actually needed to be. He has caused division within our own Aboriginal communities. And he does not speak for us all. He does not speak for me. I feel very misrepresented by Treaty 8, especially the representative from Prophet River. It is absolutely never, let me repeat that, never too late to educate anyone on how to help end racism. How fair is it to ask somebody to educate themselves on a culture yet refuse to educate them? Who better to educate somebody on culture than that culture themselves? A post from Richard this morning advertising that he is putting on educational courses on anti-racism. He has invited Mike Bernier, Dale Bumstead, and a couple other political figures, yet did not invite Lorraine, who begged and begged to be educated just Monday night. He never mentioned it. Many people are wondering after this post today why Richard would not invite somebody that he has attacked all over the news and social media for being racist. We are living in a time that is very crucial to help educate, spread awareness, and end racism. It is how we choose as Aboriginals to help educate others, and that can start no matter how old you are, and it starts with yourself. It upsets me that the Prophet River representative said it is too late for Lorraine to be educated or attend any cultural events, and that she shouldn't have been educated, or that she should have been educated years ago. But yet, it's all been suppressed. So how could any of us have learned this? I also see that Barb Smith has requested to be educated by Richard, which I'm not taking away from Barb wanting to be educated because I think it is great. This is where we start. It is not too late to learn. But my question is, why is it not too late for Barb to learn, but it is too late for Lorraine to learn? And on a final note, we need to start focusing on what good Lorraine has done, how she is willing to learn and stop the negative attention. Remember when you were upset at Lorraine, your behavior in council meetings is also being broadcast all around the media. And on supporting the guy who keeps sending them the negative info. I ask you to ask yourself, how does making Lorraine resign put an end to racism? Or is there actually something else going on here? I feel that this has been a great, whether Lorraine resigns, doesn't resign, every single one of us have learned from this. Everyone has learned from this. But it starts with ourselves, and she does not. There is no reason Lorraine does not deserve education. It is not too late. It's not too late for anybody to learn how to end it. That is just ridiculous. And that's why her comment upset me.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Good. If you guys want to go, you guys can, or you can sit. It's entirely up to you guys. Sean, did you want to say anything? No? Public hearing, unfinished business arising from the minutes, 7.1 recommendation.
The council received a response letter from UBCM for information.
Can I get a seconder?
Second.
Discussion? Chris? Oh, Sandy, do you have something? Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I thought they had some good points. I find UBCM is really good at the workshops and discussing like small communities together, different communities, but they did have some good points, but it's frustrating, and the resolutions. We had proposed a resolution previously that they take that to provincial government. So, I don't know.
Well, we're probably not the first ones to that didn't have their resolution done properly. It'd be nice if they were.
Ours was proper. They just put it on the back burner, the one Barb's
Yeah.
talking about.
I know, that's what I'm talking about.
I think, no, I don't agree with this right now. Anybody else?
Good point.
Okay. Move on. Bylaw officer support. Tell Sam he's doing a good job there, guys.
What about the?
Yeah,
you said
what about
joint
all this
agreement.
other stuff?
Yeah.
Other stuff.
8.1.
8.1 recommendation.
The council received the Coos Creek Community Center joint use agreement for discussion and approval.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Holy mackerel, it's pretty detailed.
Yeah, it is.
I do have some questions.
Okay, shoot.
In the agreement, they use the word district in several times. I think it should be changed over to the village.
Is it school district?
No, they're talking about in the wording, where is it, if anything's
Is it the
down,
district or the
the
village?
district will pay whatever, no, where does it say?
I just saw district or the village, upon the district or the village.
Okay. I was kind of taken back on how one-sided it is.
Yes.
From the doors going into the classroom, this way, is what our community paid for. And we also paid for everything that is in the kitchen, the coolers, the dishes, the pots, whatever. And they're saying that if we break something, we have to replace it. They use it all the time too. I just thought the wording was sort of one-sided, like the way, I don't know.
Chris, is this the same contract, just updated?
There have been no changes that I'm aware
There
of.
hasn't been any changes? So this contract has been in place for, same contract? Probably since the school was built?
That I can't confirm, Your Worship, whether there's been revisions over the years, but,
I can't remember what the first one that we signed was.
yeah, we could, if council would like, we could always bring up some of the past ones that we have on record for comparison.
Yeah, I think we should table this till, and see the last agreements.
Yeah.
Well, we should still have them in the archives.
Oh, yeah.
So you're gonna table this?
Can you make that motion?
I make a motion that we table this discussion until we have further information.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. 8.2 recommendations.
The council received a letter from B and J Karu for discussion.
Second.
Did we figure out why that's so much usage?
Did we figure that out, Chris?
Thank you, Worship, I can speak to it. So,
That's a pretty good.
it is, and
Sure,
so
how we figure it out?
the resident, or the homeowner had provided, the past bills and stuff, and then, through staff, I went ahead and included the actual meter logs. The ones that are in question that have caused the bill to be as sizable as it is can be found on page 27. So I had a conversation with the homeowner. The homeowner insists there was no one in the property and that it was listed for sale. Now, you know, being that the home was vacant, there's really no way for me to confirm nor deny you know, whether or not anybody had been in the house. But what we can see from the logs is that the usage is fairly general up until about that January 30th date. Then there's some no usage, and then the large spikes occur. And in fact, staff pulled another log here today, and the usage would seem to be reasonable or consistent with the past. So for some reason, there was a big spike in the usage. The homeowners have suggested that it's a faulty meter. We can find no evidence of that because the meter appears to be working now and was working prior to the event. And what that event was, I have no idea.
No, Bart?
What is the protocol when a resident gets a $1,500 water bill? Do you guys automatically go and check and see if there's not a water leak or anything? Because I know that's what we used to do.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, thanks, Worship. So there's a leak detection software built into the meters. It does require staff reading the meters to do that, and we certainly don't have the capacity to read them daily. But when we do the logs, it bubbles up or it pings a leak detection. Also, when we've seen the meters fail in the past, the ones that have, we don't tend to get consistent readings like this. We'll either get zeros for a prolonged period of time, or we'll get something like millions of liters, a volume that's actually physically impossible given the size of the water line. Because this is a consistent number, we're just not too sure what went on.
Christine?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So, yeah, when I'd spoken to the resident, I said to her, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm not in a position to you know, evaluate what may or may not have happened inside your home to create these you know, these readings. We don't do that. We certainly don't monitor people's usage daily. You know, so the best option I can suggest to you is bring a letter to council and see if council is willing to do something relative to the bill. But the unfortunate part for you folks is, as we've seen in previous cases, that does set a little bit of a dangerous precedent. You know, as we've got nothing to suggest the meters actually failed.
Did they have somebody inspecting the house daily? Did they have somebody looking after the house?
And that's part of it, Worship. They insist that the real estate agent didn't let anyone in But a vacant house with a lockbox on it, we don't know. Somebody could have gone and inspected the house and washed their hands on the way out, left the tap on, and I'm totally speculating.
Yeah,
I have no
speculating,
idea,
yeah.
but
Tiptoe.
Toilet could have kept running.
yeah, so toilet could have stuck, it could have been any number of things, but what we're seeing through the evidence with the meter logs are, reasonable readings prior to this, a few days of some very high readings, and now it's actually returned back down to normal too. My suspicion is something happened within the walls of that home to generate these readings. I can't speculate on anything else that might have caused it. So, yeah, it's up to you guys. I would say that
Oh, no, that's fine,
yeah,
continue.
I was gonna say that the bylaw has a mandatory minimum attached to it. And when we do get the ones that we know as staff to be faulty, where, the readings are just astronomical, there's no possible way they could do that, we have the authority of staff to then levy the mandatory minimums. But in a case like this where we really can't say one way or another whether it was the meter or actual consumption, we bring it to council for you guys to discuss.
Right.
Yeah, when we consider that usually they're paying like less than, some of these are less than $200, and that's 3 months? Yeah, and then in 1 month, almost 1,600.
Well, that would be for a 3-month period as well. Yeah.
This billing period
Yeah.
was for 3 months as well? Oh, okay. I understood it was for one.
The additional usage that led to that large bill is captured pretty much in a 1-month period, but that's a multi-month bill.
Okay.
The other issue we face with the water consumption and the request from residents to waive what they may feel as unfair bills is that the village pays for the water from the city of Dawson Creek. And I had this conversation with this particular resident as well. So, it was sort of the opposite side of her argument. Well, ma'am, I have nothing in front of me that shows me this is a faulty water meter. If we do choose to waive some portion of this bill, what you're effectively saying is that, your neighbors and the rest of the community are gonna pick up the tab for that water usage. Because Dawson Creek bills us for it, and we generally turn around and bill the end user, being the residents. If somebody gets a pass on their water bill and we waive half of it, that effectively means the rest of the taxpayers are absorbing that cost in addition to their own water bills.
Right.
So Dawson Creek, just to put it in simpler terms, Dawson Creek, we have metered water from them,
Correct.
and we're given a bill from Dawson Creek. And then overall, its usage, that equals that metered water that has come from Dawson Creek.
Yep, thank you, Worship. It's never that exact, Councillor Hebert, partly because there's a few facilities that aren't on water meters, fire halls, the fire hall, the fire hydrants,
Yeah.
and a few things like that. But generally speaking, the difference between the billed water from the city of Dawson and the volume used within the village is within 10%.
And such was the case with this.
We don't know. Yeah, don't know. Dawson bills us on the volume that goes through the main line from their treatment plant to our water towers. And then every year I can get that report and take a look at it to make sure that it's pretty close.
So when do you check that?
Once a year.
Once a year?
Yeah.
Ah, well, I mean, that puts a loop in there, doesn't it? Yeah, okay.
Why does it put a loop in that?
Well, I was hoping that, I mean, if we did check it quarterly, that it would, you would be able to work it out. Oh, yes, definitely, this water was being used within this village and it was metered. And, I mean, what can we do about this? But I mean, if you only do it once a year, how do you?
Well, the city only gives it to us once a year, so. we
Right,
can't-
yeah, I realize that, but I'm just saying, right?
How do you check it, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
So we vote no.
It's entirely up to you guys.
Not actually, no. If we do it for one, we have to do it for all, so I say no. All in favor?
I'm not entirely sure about this.
You're not entirely
I don't
sure.
have all,
Pardon?
I don't feel comfortable making the decision.
Well,
There's
that's-
something missing, like there's something,
We had a lady here standing here one time, I think it was last year, over the same thing, and we would not give her a break. And now,
Oh,
we have another one that come up, and no, if we're gonna do it for, we might as well give everybody no water, or free water.
Thanks, Rich. That case last year was a slightly different case in that homeowner, the home had suffered some damage from tenants and it was literally vacant. We, under the bylaw, were required to levy the mandatory minimum for every home, whether there's actually consumption or not. And we were doing it for that particular property. And that resident felt that because there was no one in the home and the water usage was zero, that she shouldn't have to pay the mandatory minimum. So a slightly different case than this, yeah.
okay.
But to your point, your worship, you know, if council begins to entertain these, because there's no way of knowing what people are doing in the privacy of their own homes, you know, especially in the summer months. You know, if a kid leaves a hose tap on outside to make a hole in the driveway for 48 hours, there's a significant amount of consumption in there. You know, a resident comes in and says, oh, last month I paid this and now it's here, that's unfair, I want to have my bill waived. The slippery slope to waiving water bills could be enormous. So again, without anything to suggest that the meter has actually failed, somehow this volume of water, according to our logs, traveled through that house.
just a question, if the house is not lived in, did they not ask to have the water turned off?
That's also come up before, Councillor Smith, where, especially in the case of the other lady, well, if the village knew there was nobody in there, why didn't we turn the water off?
We can't.
We must receive a request to shut the water off.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Unless we see the water.
Yeah, unless, if the pipes burst, then okay, yeah, we definitely run in and address that emergency. But just in the case of a vacant home, we don't proactively go and turn the water off. Even if we know the home's vacant, it's the residents or the homeowner's water. We provide the service until they tell us to stop the service, we continue to provide it, so.
So I say no. They have to pay the bill, and they pay the bill, so. All in favor?
Need a motion. Something.
Need a motion.
I need a motion. Motion, Donna seconding it.
Motion to not waive the bill?
Yeah. 8.3, that council reviews preliminary capital special projects as the final determination at the March 17th, 2021. And how's our new CFO making out, Chris?
Good.
Can I have a second, please?
Second,
Thank you.
Yeah, he's working away on the Mays versus Municipal 360 reconciliation. So I wanted to get, last week was busy, not on the budget, but I did want to make sure that I...
yeah, I can't even hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I guess that's that. Last week was busy, but I did manage to put together the final touches on the capital and special project list. So I was hoping to have council just look it over today, maybe go through it. Let me know if there's anything in there that you see right now that's an absolute must or nope, not a chance for 2021. It does represent a significant number of projects. As with previous years, we've always put more in front of you guys than we think we're actually capable of completing in a given year to allow council the chance to determine which ones you'd like to see as opposed to. The big one, of course, being the fire hall expansion. So if that comes through, we're going to need to significantly call the capital and special projects list to ensure staff are available to manage that construction project.
The pavers, paved sewer fix on 484954.
Yeah. So those were excavations to repair underground lines that we have to patch the road back up.
Okay.
I need the one on 48, where was the one on 49?
There's 48, 49. 48, 49, 51st is number one.
Yeah, I know, but I know the one on 48. Where's the one on 49? That's what I'm asking.
I'd have to double check with the director, he's the one that gave me those street numbers, so,
Well, that's this street.
yeah.
Whole street.
But I don't,
I'm drawing a blank on it
I
off the top
am
of my head
drawing a
too, I'll
blank
double
on
check,
this.
yeah.
Is it your line then? Is it 50 line on your street?
they're all like that, so this is utility line repairs. There were, I don't know where those repairs were done.
So it's 30,000?
Yeah, we estimate about 30,000 this year, about 10,000 apiece to do each of those patches. So maybe if
Everybody's
I,
okay with that?
Yeah,
Fire department compliance audit, that has to be done, that's strongly
Yeah.
recommended. Sandy, the streets and lanes, no, that's paved, we need that done.
that's a general paving line, yeah. We didn't do, aside from the paving that we sort of coincided with the sidewalk project last year, we didn't pick a street to pave specifically this year. So we'd certainly appreciate any recommendations from council on which one we should do.
Do we have to wait till the snow goes so we can remember?
Just put it in the budget and then tell you?
Yeah, that works.
Everybody agrees?
$60,000 is pretty minimum. And to me, like, if you're gonna do something, let's not do just a patch. Like, I mean, let's do it right, do it all the way.
I think the school, by the school there, because it goes,
You've mentioned that before too, Your Worship. I know even up on 49th here, we've got a lot of divots as well where the gas lines have sunk. So
then
there's,
that stops the speed bumps, so we don't put speed bumps.
yes, they are reverse speed bumps to a certain extent.
If they're not gas lines,
Yeah, they're,
gas
Sewer
lines,
lines.
they're sewer lines.
Yeah, those are the sewer lines, that's where they're from. Mark?
Can we verify our pipes, our sewer and water lines under the, whatever street we choose, have it looked at very thoroughly before we pave? Because I'd hate for us to pave and then find out that we've had,
They get scoped every
We-
5
we-
years, don't they? And that must have been, that was done just before we got on council, I think, so I mean,
yeah,
2017.
and as a matter of procedure, anytime we're paving a street, we automatically scope the full street
Yeah.
just to make sure as well.
That's just a given. Okay, so what do you want to up it to, 100,000?
Well, we can leave it there for now as a placeholder, Your Worship. Yeah.
Can we
if-
rob Peter to pay Paul?
We potentially could.
Okay.
So, and if we decide that, okay, you know, the street that council would like us to do for 2021 is one of the longer ones inside the village boundaries, then I can get a quote and we can up the budget number from there. It can always be amended.
Okay.
But then that means we have to have a special meeting.
No.
Can't we just put $100,000 in there and call it good?
$100,000 isn't much.
Depending on,
When
yeah,
you're
depending on what
talking
you guys
paving,
choose to do.
We're
then, you know.
talking big numbers here.
Well, I'm saying that we could just take like, 2022s and put it in their 2023s and do all three of them, right? If you
Oh,
have to.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, say, rob Peter to pay Paul.
Okay.
And to amend the budget line for a single capital project is just one motion to up it to some.
All in favor?
Oh,
Crack ceiling?
crack sealing.
We're in Northwest Coast.
Crack sealing is for, so that when you have your spring thaw or in the winter, that the water seepage doesn't get in there, and then when you have all that thawing and freezing, that you're not separating
The pavement.
the pavement,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it prolongs the life of the pavement by an estimated 5 to 7 years according to the engineers. Because it does exactly what you're saying, rather than the water getting in there, when the water freezes, it lifts the pavement, and it's the crack sealing that causes it to get that spider web effect,
Right.
where it all breaks and breaks apart. That's because there's water underneath there. So we had done an extensive crack sealing project 2 years ago here on the lower half of town. We didn't get to do Dokesville, Northwest Goose. So if council's open to the idea, I'd like to get that section of town done as well.
And then there's something like just on 54th, just when you enter 54th, it's
peeling and breaking up, and
Okay.
it's right in front of,
There are points where the pavement gets too bad to even crack seal it, so they'll, you
Yeah.
know, but yeah, if you guys are open to the project in general, I can start having more discussion.
And then remove dead trees in Foos Park, well, yeah, we don't.
We did that last year.
No, I don't think we.
We did some, but there's
Still
some that are still going.
That's yearly, isn't it?
You know, like
And number
we-
6 is, that's very, very important.
Yeah,
Housing needs assessment,
yeah.
I think that is the regional district, isn't it?
It's the regional district spearheading the project. I put 5,000 in there just in case we needed to do a contribution or something, something special.
Our officer, Mr. Coyote.
We lost one, and
Okay.
we'd like to actually have 3, so we're hoping to buy 2 more. They're about $700 or $800 a piece.
But you just, I think it's kind of silly.
No, it does make people think.
It works. I can tell you,
By
driving
the
in
time
every
that they
morning,
get by and
they
they're going,
work.
oh yeah, right,
Yeah.
that's just a,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
he's not real.
you know, especially last year when we had them out often, you know, and I'd be coming in the morning and the person in front of me had a red plate, and the second they got within eyeshot of Officer Pooh's, the brake lights came on, and then the smile came on, and yeah, that's working.
Okay.
So we all agree?
Sure.
Update strat plan?
So we brought that to you guys last year as a possibility. Our strategic plan technically expired in 2020, and I'm happy to say, with the exception of one line in there, we completed 99% of you know, the strategic plan items. But the strategic plan is an important document. It's referenced in a lot of the grant applications and that type of thing. So yeah, council is going to need to consider redoing the strategic plan. They're not inexpensive because it's a detailed or an involved process. There's several meetings between the planners and the engineers and you guys to come up with what the next 5-year window looks like. So
And then the draft development procedure manual, that is very, very important. And when we go to do that, I want to make sure that there's internet, that they have internet and that in there. That isn't classified as a utility, right?
I've shaded that for pre-approval because it's underway from last year.
It's a development.
Is that why you shaded yours?
Pardon?
Development procedures.
Yeah, when there's,
So if,
permits and all that are all in there and everything is all in there.
okay,
So right now, what we've got, Councilor Hebert, is a sort of hodgepodge of development or developer requirements in our literature. And the onus through all of the current documents is still on the contractor to be aware of them and follow them, but there's literally 6 or 7 different documents that they've got to reference and follow. The idea of the development procedures manual is to take that all into one handy-dandy booklet to be able to hand to somebody, and it's going to be separated out according to, okay, I want to build myself a single residential house. And we'll flip to section 3. Here's what you need to do. All the permits, everything that applies. And part of this was in response to 2 cases we had last year with some permitting and then some stuff that may have been done, built incorrectly. We're all aware of those cases. I won't mention names here right now. But when we sort of step back and peel back the layers of the onion, we realized, yeah, part of that was likely due to the fact that our information wasn't in a nice, easy package to deliver to members of the public. So we're hoping to put it together that way.
Okay. All in favor? Boundary extension? To widen our boundaries so we can actually get some taxes happening in here.
Well, how far are we gonna go?
Well, it's, Chris?
Yeah, that one's been on the books for a number of years, Your Worship.
We have to have them come back.
Yeah, and so the last meeting that council had with Urban Systems on the boundary extension, and this was, you know, still in Councillor Drover's time, the request to the lead engineer was to, well, give us a presentation on, you know, 2 or 3 options and what it could look like. The economic situation has deteriorated a little bit, and you know, part of that ask is to have new boundaries for the potential for business properties. As it stands right now, probably 75, if not 80% of our light industrial area is vacant at the moment. I'm not sure we have a high likelihood of success of getting a boundary extension for business properties with, you know, a lot of vacant light industrial properties that we could actually reclassify ourselves as business. But you guys can still continue to pursue it if you'd like.
Well, if we could just buy Notes' property.
But it's,
That'd be the
yeah.
normal way.
This,
It's not developed.
in my mind, this type of thing has a high likelihood of success when we can go to the province and say, we are bursting at the seams, there's literally nothing available, we need more territory to
So it's the
expand.
same, if you've got to get along with the regional district, to be able to take that from
Yeah.
the director.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing too.
So all the pre-work is done, you know, and if council wanted to push this one off a year or two,
Yeah.
you know, we could resume it at some future date without too much of an issue.
Sounds good.
Can we kind of just get our boundaries kind of square though? Have you ever seen them on the map?
They're all over.
We're wiggly piggly. Update zoning bylaw.
That one I could have actually shaded, it's underway, I've got a draft on my desk here as we speak, and that's done.
Zoning, what?
That's a couple of things we're addressing in there. One is the CCAN shipping containers, which we've got growing problems with in town.
Yeah.
And there is language in the current bylaw about it, but to give you an example I'll give him, he's a very creative resident, asked us if he was allowed a shipping container in his residential property. We said, technically no, but you can if you want to use it as a frame, a skookum frame for a shed, but the bylaw states that you have to site it, put a roof on it, doors, and it has to look like a structure. It can't just be a big old rusty, you know, box sitting in your backyard. It's actually one of the 40-foot ones as well. He left the office, no problem. I understand from staff, he called a couple of days later and asked, are the tarp sheds that they sell at Canadian Tire able to be put up? Yep, zoning bylaw says you can have tarp sheds, great. About a week later, I found out he bought the biggest darn tarp shed he could find, he slapped it over his CCAN and problem solved.
Still got it.
Smart, like I say, I gotta give him credit.
Way around. And we're gonna do the CAP program, right?
Yeah, the CAT program we're redoing. So that's one of the things we're hoping to sharpen up the language in the zoning bylaw, and we want to make that one a little bit more user-friendly as well. So that's part of it.
And then, the AC bylaw.
Yeah, that's
Creator.
kind of a not optional one. It's failed. There's no air conditioning over there right now.
Storage donations.
wait until
Yes, that was already.
We wouldn't be able to fix the current AC unit.
Yeah, well, aren't we gonna wait to see if we're gonna be building another building?
We could.
Yeah. There's no sense in replacing it now if we're gonna need a
Yeah,
bigger one.
and we find out in
And same
12
with the
days
safety
now.
quote, the safety,
Coat fire.
Yeah. And now that one, folks, Blair's gotten an updated quote. That's a number from a couple of months ago when we were first contemplating that project. It looks like safety coating the floor is gonna be closer to 25,000, not 10.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money.
it is, yeah. It's
That's the uric acid? Are they doing it with uric acid?
I'm not sure the compound, Councillor White, but I know
Okay.
when Blair was telling me about it today, they've got to do 2, if not 3 passes over the whole floor to get it to properly coat.
And this is, how many times has the floor been done?
It never has, it's bare concrete now, that's why he's brought
Oh, it's
this.
never been done.
Not with an anti-slip coating, it's so when when the
you
personnel
walk
go in
around
there
it-
after a fire, it's quite slippery.
Yes, especially with your boots if they're wet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
flat deck trailer. Current trailer is a homemade trailer, which is a very good trailer.
Is it falling apart? Like, what's the deal here?
I'm an accountant, I'm not a welder by any means, but
I'd say, yeah, put it, take it to
yeah.
the funeral home.
Yeah, the current,
It's done?
it's in bad shape. And we need the flat deck trailer to move
Well,
around
yeah.
the mowers and that type of thing.
Well, when the bridge was out, they borrowed our trailer, right? And
Yeah.
they washed the bridge out, so they used our blue trailer.
Right.
Well, I donated it to the village to take it all around.
Yeah.
Right?
The current one we have is really only good for moving culverts around. We may actually keep it for that purpose because it's long enough that we can put the 20-foot culverts on it. But it doesn't have the weight capacity for any of the larger
Is
pieces of
it
equipment.
roadworthy? Is it what?
It's
Define and
Like, sure, would I take it to Grand Prairie on the highway in the back of my pickup? Not a chance.
But running from Public Works to here, yeah.
Yeah,
it's good to be
yeah,
insured.
we mostly just buzz around town with it. so.
The John Deere tractor,
Can we rent one? Like
We're
we're
not
doing
gonna
now?
rent-
Yes,
this
yeah, and I was gonna bring that up. I put it.
I'm reading your
You're
mind.
right.
I'm reading your mind.
I've put it in there as a capital item.
It's more lease, we're leasing it.
Yeah, my preference would be to lease that for a full year lease, unlike what we're doing with the snow loader. But the current ones, I won't say it's on its last legs, but it's starting to fail. The heater doesn't work properly. It's not even a factory
around for a
cab
long
on
time.
there. Yeah, Blair's got some pictures that he's provided me that I'll put, in the next
I think
presentation of
it's
this.
from
But
way back when we were on.
so the cab doesn't fit properly to the point where the wheel arches inside the tractor are covered with construction spray foam to try and insulate it, and it's hokey, yeah. Does the job, but if it wasn't safe, we wouldn't be using it, but it's certainly not professional.
It's on its last legs?
Yeah, it's on its last legs. So we've been offered through John Deere a very good trade-in price for it. So that would count as a credit towards either a purchase or a lease. But it's looking like the lease prices are pretty attractive as well. And like the other pieces of equipment that I'm talking to council about, if we go with a 5-year lease, then we just hand the keys back, we get another one in 5 years, and we've always got a quality piece of equipment to serve the residents with, so.
Ryan,
How old is this?
Off the top of my head,
It's pretty
I'm gonna
old.
say at least 15 years.
Yeah.
At least 15 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we bought it when you were mayor.
15 years? That's not bad. When you think price-wise, then a lease. And if you get traded, I'd rather own it than lease it.
Okay.
Everything.
I think it'd be cheaper for us.
No, I disagree with that.
Really?
Because of the lease?
See, I know you take them in there and they take care of the problems that you have, right?
That depends on the terms that you do in the lease contract.
Exactly.
The advantage, and a lot of the municipalities aren't necessarily going to leases per se, but it's becoming more and more common to have municipalities adopting equipment retirement policies, which basically say, we're charging people taxes to provide these services. We should be coming to the table with a late model quality piece of equipment. And so City of Dawson Creek, to my knowledge, just adopted one. They've got a 5-year replacement program, so when the piece of equipment hits 5 years, whether it's in stellar shape by by our standards or not, yep, out with the old, new one comes in, and that way it ensures the service standards for the members of the public.
But we
So
haven't been doing that.
we haven't, and that's gotten us into things like our grader, our dump truck, and part of it, my feeling is, if we're making the purchase commitments and the big dollars up front, it's then more difficult for successive councils to say, well, we blew 45 grand on this thing 5 years ago. I don't know, let's limp it along a couple more years.
Yeah,
If
if you divide that up. Well, I'm thinking you look at something like a dump truck, you look at a grader, I can understand
Big
that
dollars.
part of it, because they're
Yeah.
big costs. But mind you, that grader that's running, that was purchased way back in the 90s.
1992.
Yeah,
94, I think.
94.
I remember
I was
that.
gonna say, I was there to buy it.
So I thought you were.
No, you weren't there yet.
I was on there 93.
So, and yeah, you're not wrong. On 45 grand, we've certainly got the cash to just write a check and buy it if we want.
Yeah, because smaller pieces of equipment, it's like, okay, you just run them till they're done.
Bert,
Could we look at both options?
Oh, yeah,
before
yeah,
we
yeah.
make
I
a
have
final-
the paperwork for both options in my office, so that will be, really today was to just get a sense
Yeah.
from you guys about, yeah, we'll consider that, or no, push it off.
Shovel-ready project?
So I thought I'd put a catch-all line in this year's budget for a big number, but just to give council some wiggle room, similar to your council discretionary GL for donations and that type of thing. So it's a catch-all line. We know the grants are starting to come out, and we're maybe a little bit behind the 8 ball because we don't have these shovel-ready projects per se. We've got a couple, and we're applying for grants for those right now. But this at least gives council a line item to say, okay, we just found out there's a grant for this widget coming up. Do you want to do the engineering? Yep, the money's already there for it, kind of thing. So
So if those 22 that I brought back in January, was any of those good? Because they came out in
Is this
June
for
and
the
September.
Andy's been looking
No.
to.
Are there any projects of that nature?
Excuse me. I was talking to Sandy, thank you. And he's looking at it? Okay. So we're doing the shovel-ready project?
No.
Assessment management phase 2?
Exactly.
Chris?
Yeah, so believe it or not, despite all of the work that was done by Urban Systems and the presentation done to council, booklet and the whole bit, that was really only asset management phase 1. So there's,
We've been asking for 2 years for them to come and go through that book with us.
yeah. Well, they've done 2 presentations, but asset management phase 2 builds on that work that was done in the first one. So that'll address your request.
Okay. Yes, we have to do that, eh? Because that's a requirement.
It's gonna become a requirement, yes.
Well, it is,
Yeah.
it is a requirement.
Sandy, you still want your stand-up desk?
Yeah.
Not bad, Sandy.
How bad? Doesn't matter. I can live with or without it.
I was gonna make you get a J for it.
You were you? Not happening. Don't want it that bad.
How many were you gonna get?
$10,000.
I don't
No.
know. How much was that?
6, isn't it? Go ahead.
Our CFO put a line item of 10,000 in. We have found them for about $1,000 a piece, and there's only 5 desks that want them, so. He was being very generous, kind of like when we did the blinds and the paint, you know, and I saved lots of money.
So, how old are your desks?
Pardon?
How old are your desks?
I have no idea.
None?
Mine was here when I got here.
Chris?
Yeah, the desks themselves are actually in really good shape for the most part. The stand-up desks is a unit that mounts on top of the existing desk
Yeah.
that raises everything up. So it's not replacing the whole desk, it's
And you
just,
don't even have to get them to mount, you can just get them
just
pressure.
just sit
sets,
them on
yeah.
there, yeah.
Okay. So we agree on that?
Mm-hmm.
Feasible study. Drainage? Chris? Is that
Yeah.
the?
That's, yeah, that one was specifically your request, your worship, and that was to look into converting the ditches to a possible storm sewer system.
Everybody okay with
All
that?
of them?
No, just one section at a time at a time.
Okay.
One section at a time.
So this would be a feasibility study, likely through an engineering firm to take a look at what we have and then determine if it's even possible.
Yeah, if it's possible.
Okay.
No ditches. No ditches. And then now we have to increase ditch maintenance because people aren't mowing their lawns and ditches are sloughing and, Chris?
Thanks, Your Worship. So this one I was hoping to have a discussion with council on. It's my belief that the maintenance bylaw that we have right now was put in place to address this type of scenario and really say to each resident, look, you've got 100 feet of frontage, you know, maintain it yourself, because if you don't, you know, for us to come in and do it is quite significant. The reason why that number is so high is when we go into Urban Systems Asset Management Plan, they tell us we've got 16, almost 17 kilometers of road inside the village of Pooskupi boundaries, and that's both paved and gravel roads. if you're considering ditches, then we multiply that by two because there's obviously a ditch on each side of the road. So if we're contemplating maintaining the ditches ourselves, we're literally talking 34 kilometers of ditches that have to be manually maintained by hand.
But we have bylaws that people aren't following, so it's what, fine them?
Well, yeah, that's a possibility, Your Worship. You know.
There's issues with the ditches, and we all know it. And then you have people who are aging.
Yeah.
I know that our ditches are pretty nicely sloped. And we have just taken immaculate care of them. Somebody's getting a little older and finding it harder. It's harder to get the gravel out of the ditches in the spring. Like, I don't know how long he'll be able to do that. And then you have the ditches that are just straight down, and I mean, there is no way you can get in there with your lawnmower. It's just a mess. So it's not straight, this is a problem with a bylaw. This is our problem too. We're sharing it.
And to your point, Councillor Hebert, that's probably one of the most common complaints I get, or maybe not a complaint, but a request over the summer months that, well, you know, I used to do it, was happy with it, but I'm aging now, I got a bum knee, I can't mow my ditch. You know, town hall, you're gonna have to come do it for us. My reply in those cases is always, I'm sorry, ma'am, sir, that's not what the bylaw suggests. The bylaw says you're responsible for your own ditch. I'm sure there's a local child who would be happy to come and mow your ditch for a few dollars an hour and take care of that for you. Because if the village does it, you're looking at
Everybody.
the full cost. And again, similar to the conversation we just had about the water, you know, once one resident sees the village equipment out mowing their ditch, oh yeah, my hip hurts too, I can't do mine. And the cascading effect.
Can't we set up some kind of a program to hire kids to mow elderly people, anybody over 60, ditch?
So the reason for that line item is if we, as the village, set it up to do it, we're talking fully unionized summer students.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, and then those summer students need a pickup, they need 4 additional weed whackers, they need the safety equipment, you know, and so on and so forth down the line. So I estimate $65,000 a year if the village is to maintain the 34 kilometers of ditches ourselves, which is an astronomically high number.
No. Keep the summer students, just mow them for seniors. People that are quite capable of mowing can mow their own lawn. Barb.
Okay.
Could we have put out in our newsletter asking for our younger residents if they want to be on a phone list if someone's asking to get their lawn mowed or their ditches mowed? And if they call, or they could come and pick up a list, and that it's not our nickel, but the person's, I wouldn't mind paying a student to come and do my ditch.
And then what about if the kid gets hurt, like with WCB or whatever, right? That would be the
That's between them.
Yeah, so in what you're proposing, Councillor Smith, has merit, because then it's us involving the community without us being directly responsible for the activity. The other piece that scares me about us doing it ourselves is that a lot of residents are, you know, they maintain it to a very high degree, to the same degree that they maintain their lawns. When we as staff do the ditches, we hack it down and it's a ditch. It's meant to move water and debris. There's no raking. We don't make it look pretty, and we might come back 2 weeks later. Because we're maintaining an operational facility, being the ditch, we're not doing it to add aesthetics to the property. Whereas if somebody was hired to do it directly by the homeowner, well, here's how I want it done, here's how often I want it done, you're gonna rake it, you're gonna bag it, great. None of that stuff the staff are in the habit of doing, so.
Yeah, but even if we hired a contractor to come in and do those ditches and stuff like that too.
We'd be, if I pushed out a tender that said we want a contractor to mow 34 kilometers of ditches once a week, we might even be looking at a number that's higher than this.
We could always ask.
I like to put it in our newsletter for kids.
Well, it gives
Let's
them
give it a try.
young kids
Even for shoveling driveways.
So, then,
Making
would
that
Ken-
motion?
would council's motion be to direct us to try and put together a program looking for?
I'll make that
community
motion.
involvement?
I'll
Have a
second.
second?
There.
All in favor?
We're all here.
We're all on here. Okay. Tourism video.
No. I mean, I can get put on maybe an agenda in a couple weeks, couple meetings from now when it's less busy. Can we do an update if you want,
So we can just table this one.
if you'd like, yeah.
Okay. Public Works crew cab, yeah, they need a truck.
Badly, your worship. The current one has well over 225,000 kilometers
I
on it.
was talking to Bud.
So that's actually an area where we might consider leasing it as well, but I'll bring both those options.
Yeah, 'cause I
back
don't think we
to
can
council.
buy one for 65, you know?
We're actually shooting, we're hoping to go for a quad cab 3/4 ton gas this time to get a little bit more towing
For the trailer.
and weight capability for the trailer. And then we're also talking about taking the stock box off it and putting a flatbed box that has the rakes and all this little pipeline that I said. So,
Totally agree. And then who's park walking trail?
that was one I threw on there because of the abundance of grants coming out right now. So a couple of years ago, I worked with Urban Systems. We have a shovel-ready plan for a walking trail around the perimeter of Poos Park. If you guys are okay with it,
From
and we
what,
can,
2 years ago?
yeah, and we can marry it to a grant, then this might be the year to build it.
Awesome. And then expand fire hall, that's already blue. That's grant. Grant application underway.
So a grant,
Oh, right, you sent me that by email. The corporate officer has an addition.
No, the mayor has an addition. It came from the mayor.
Oh, right,
Remember when you asked me
you
about
sent it to
sound
me,
system?
Oh, yeah, and the sound system, because I can't hear. And if we have to continue to wear masks,
yeah.
then we need a sound system,
Okay.
because I can't hear.
If we're gonna go that route, your worship, we might look at updating it and tying it into a more professional camera system. That seems to be what a lot of the municipalities have, where it's a camera system with mics.
Because you can't hear that.
Yeah, I noticed
It
it
was
too.
clicking, while someone's sitting on the phone, clicking. Then you watch the movie or the video the next day and it's clicking.
Even when folks are shuffling paper, it sometimes muffles the sound. So
Yeah.
we know we like the idea of the camera. That's working well for everybody, of course. So yeah, we could shop for a more professional camera system with actual mics and.
Okay. Please.
okay, and the expansion of fire hall, the grant application. Grants work a third, don't they?
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
No, not this one.
So this one is a full one?
Yeah.
Pays for the entire thing?
Somewhat rare. Often there's a commitment component by the municipality doing it, and it can be anywhere from 50 to 20%, 20 to 50%, I guess. But in the case of this particular grant, they were offering 100% funding.
So if you get the grant, then it wouldn't be costing us a penny.
But
Theoretically,
it would be nice to do the engineering plans before we get the engineered plans happening, so.
How much was, Opted or whatever? No, the company that you said we're gonna make a donation to work.
Oh, they won't do it now,
Yeah.
because it was voted down, so they got that.
Yeah, a search and rescue said that they would put some money into.
Yeah.
So what would be really handy for me is to have a breakdown of what it costs for that size of fire hall over there, just for heating, lighting, that kind of thing, so that we know basically what's gonna happen to us with this over here.
the only way to get that, Councillor Hebert, would be to hire a professional engineering firm and do those designs and crunch the numbers.
That $120,000?
Nobody.
No, I want a rough idea about how much it costs to heat a building that's 2 stories and open,
To heat it,
yes, The heating and the lighting and.
I can get you the heating cost on the current building, but to do an estimate, nobody on staff right now has got the qualifications to estimate the heating.
No, you don't have bills from there?
Well, that's what I mean. I can get you the costs from the current one, but to estimate what it might be on some future size.
Oh, no, not even thinking about that one. I
Okay.
just want to know what that one over
Yeah.
there costs us.
Yeah, we can use that.
Okay, thank
You
you.
can't bring that up on your computer,
Um,
the fire hall budget?
there is a line, yeah, there is a
You
line.
have on your fire hall budget, you have utilities and all that.
Budget.
Well, I'd like to put some thought into it, so you can just do that and I'll think about it.
Well, and that's it. I'd have to make sure that it's, that the utilities line doesn't have a couple of different things in it, and I'm just drawing a blank on it right now, so I'll bring that back for the next meeting.
You'll bring it what, Chris?
I'll bring it back for the next meeting.
Thank you.
So you're gonna table that. 9.1 recommendation.
The council received the reports from the bylaw animal control officer for information.
And I'd like to, can I get a second?
Second.
And I'd like to extend, thank you, Sam. He's doing a pretty good job. And anybody else? All in favor? Do you guys see anything else in here that you want? Here's Northern BC Tourism. That council receives a letter on human trafficking as information, which is a good thing. And there's our safety report. And then council received the policy directive 21-02 as information. Anybody want to see anything like that? Check it
Well,
out.
the National Human Trafficking is a declaration, and we're understanding.
And they're finally deciding it's an important thing.
Okay.
Finally. Hey, Sandy, how did you figure out with the liquor control board? Have you heard anything? Nothing?
Don't forget there's two late, I think.
Huh?
Right? Yeah, your worship?
Yeah?
9.12 and 9.13.
I can't.
9.12 and 9.13 on your desk?
Yeah.
Okay.
And recommendation that council receives the Surrey police transition needs a feasible study for information. And we'll look at that. So then we have late item 9.12, Northern Health. COVID. Want to explain this, Chris?
Yeah, thanks, your worship. It's a notice essentially from Northern Health speaking to who is in line to get the vaccines first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no money. You'll know where your mama goes.
Yeah.
Barb?
I do have a question. They do have a phone number. I was looking for a phone number. It's very, very hard to get on the phone with government issues. Like, I've been trying for a week and a half. You know, and a senior, they can't go on the website because they don't have a computer and they don't have those skills. Is there another way they can? I'm thinking at that age and people still at home, wouldn't their doctor have a suggestion list or go through the doctor? Like, I'm just trying to think of another option so that,
The pharmacy.
or their pharmacist?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So. Okay. 9.13, this is neat. It's for a Zoom. They do totally different things than actual just recycling, I guess, no?
I can't do that one because I'm being,
No, I'm not allowed to do these things. Barb,
I can do that,
you can?
yes.
So Sandy, Barb's doing that.
Okay.
Can I get a seconder on that?
second.
All in favor? Bylaws, resolutions none, bylaws none, administration report, CAO report.
CAO report this week
Is
is
that-
super brief, your worship. The vast majority of last week was spent answering calls and questions about the current political situation, and then working on the budget. So,
Action items? And Sandy, you're a little busy doing that fireworks bylaw, are you?
Yeah.
Good girl.
Yeah, I'm busy doing all sorts of things.
I know you work hard.
The gravel, gonna need that probably at the post office, do you recall? Yeah,
So we won't get that
That driveway is
till
pretty
it's
damn
dry.
slippery.
yeah,
Has to be dry.
but I just wanna make sure that we remember that.
It's in here, isn't it, Chris, in the?
I'm not sure
Action
that,
items?
that may have bubbled up while I was on leave, Your Worship.
Sandy, can you mark that in?
I
For
have.
action items?
I've made a note here.
Thank you.
And council calendars, well, we have COVID, everybody knows where they're going, Sandy, correct us, everybody. Councillor White's report. You don't have one?
No.
Councillor Smith.
I've had my portfolios changed around. The only thing I have now is tourism and cemetery.
And now you got Ken.
Pardon me?
You'll have Ken's. So you have to buy the election.
Oh, excuse me. So I will have Ken's.
Ken's portfolios.
Okay, will we not have a by-election when that person do Ken's?
Well,
Oh,
Ken-
I'll
Ken, we don't have a by-election till what?
What?
I'll address the first one. The portfolios, can we bring that back next meeting, March 17th? By-election, I have to talk to Elections BC first. We actually have to appoint the chief election officer first before we can set the date. I've had numerous phone calls. No, it has to be, you have to appoint them every election. So, next meeting, we'll, okay?
I told them we need somebody to take care of.
Are you done?
Yeah.
I do have a question on the calendar.
Okay.
Donna, you're working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays?
No, it's different. It's all different.
Okay. There's a meeting on a Wednesday for interprovincial meeting.
No, that's canceled.
Oh,
The interprovincial one was canceled due to COVID.
well, it's on the calendar, that's.
Yeah, no, I never sent it to Sandy. Okay. Councillor Hebert.
Yes. I have something to say to the public out there. And I will hand it to you after, Sandy, I promise. This one you can put in the agenda.
Okay.
To the public, democracy is wonderful. When the elections were held in 2018, we were entrusted with the future of this village. Fast forward to 2021, and here we are. Now at the forefront of our village council are the issues of racism, the Holocaust, bullying, harassment, insensitivity, the code of conduct, municipal leadership, and the list of items is numerous and not necessarily in this order. And the results will be ongoing. We are truly grateful for your seemingly endless support to take a stand, sending a strong message. This is unacceptable. Systemic attitude and behavior are intolerable, and you have given renewed hope for the future where we can, in our entirety, be respectful as human beings. For those who believe in the betterment of this community, it is a step in the right direction to raise expectations of municipal leadership and accountability, and thank you. I also have a request from someone to ask a few things of you, because you were not at the meeting on February 20th when this was brought forward. and this person would really like a couple of answers. So I kind of quickly went through this and just highlighted a few things that, and have you read this?
No.
No? Okay, it says, one of the things, I am shocked and appalled by Miss McKetty's behavior, and I'm also very concerned about what her actions will mean for me personally. She's violated my privacy, and I have no idea what chaos she's created for me personally over this. Another thing that she stated, Pooskoopi has a code of conduct for its elected officials.
I watched the movie.
Yeah, it's my understanding that this code became necessary due to a previous mayor's political missteps. One of the things that she mentioned was Section 6 of the code states the conduct of its members in this performance of their duties and responsibilities with the village must be fair, open, and honest. Members shall refrain from abusive conduct, personal charges, or verbal attacks upon character or motives of other members of council, committees, the staff, or the public. And then section 19. I'm not going to read through all of that. There were 10 violations of section 6 and 19. And on your post that you had, there were 11 times where you called, belittled, uttered veiled threats, or openly mocked a Pooskoopi resident.
Mock them?
This is according to what this paper states. And this person has her reasons, and she even included things in here as she stood.
Oh, I know, and then,
Yes.
I know who she was.
Yeah, yeah.
I know her husband, I know his girlfriend, I know the whole situation.
Yeah, and you knew what her real name was, and you put it out there.
I've also.
And it's extremely problematic for her for several reasons. And somehow you researched and not only outed her current last name, but somehow managed to discover her maiden name. And it's appallingly terrifying behavior of anyone, let alone an elected official.
Okay.
Yeah, and there you go. And then you said that, or she had said that you never messaged her directly, or she states that she never messaged me directly, and that she is considering hiring a lawyer for defamation of character.
I said that to her.
Yeah, that's what she said.
The lady that was standing there.
Well, that's what's written in here.
That lady that was standing there?
While writing this, I forwarded a screenshot of Miss McKetty messaging the administrator of the.
The administrator, see, there's a.
Oh, the administrator.
See, there,
okay.
there you go, misinterpreted.
Sorry. I was just picking out these things.
Yeah.
So, you violated her privacy by posting her private information. She would like to know where and how you got her full name and her maiden name, and why put it on Facebook, and how do you justify your actions as a mayor?
He was one.
Heat of the moment?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I talked to Tara did I say that place? Faganella, Robin Splickler, O'Keek, I'm gonna smash his name. Yama Hershey and Tara Robinson. I did a 26-minute or 40, maybe 45-minute call to the ministry to discuss how I can get training, and they're gonna send us stuff. And then I reached out to a lady in Fort Nelson and for training. And I also talked to the race conscious people. And that's my report. And do we have an encounter? No. And
Motion to adjourn.